Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We're getting started just a few minutes late today. We do thank you for your attendance. This is the second Superintendent Teacher Advisory Committee meeting, and we certainly appreciate your input and your support in working to make sure that our school district remains committed to high performance. We're going to deviate from the program just a little bit today. Of course, you don't see Dr. Beasley just yet, but presenting on his behalf, we have Dr. Ralph Simpson, our Deputy Superintendent of School Improvement and Instruction, that I'll bring to the podium at this time. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that new title. It's okay. It's okay. Good afternoon. I apologize. I'm not Dr. Beasley, and I certainly won't try to be him, but I certainly want to apologize on his lack of attendance here. There's an unforeseen emergency that is taking place that's required not only his attention but all of ours. And you'll probably get it, not already got it on your phone, but one of our buses caught fire at 675 and somewhere out there. But everybody's okay, so just know there were no children on the bus. The bus driver was able to evacuate safely before the bus came in the plane. So that's a great thing. But we lost the bus, unfortunately, but unfortunately that happened. So I'm going to be brief, and I won't belittle you with trying to read to you. There are a number of things that, and I would actually just quantify this as our balanced scorecard, because it tells you any and everything that you would need to know about the district. But just a few specific things certainly that I want to highlight that you did not know. Obviously, our graduation rate has increased. If you did not know that, then certainly it's something that we have, as Ms. Dawkins, our Chief Communications Officer, constantly and frequently sends out communications about any and everything that takes place in our school district. That's certainly one of the things and all of our accomplishments, along with the great things that are happening here in our school district. But what the most celebratory is something that we certainly should be proud of is that we don't have any schools on the list. Those lists designated by the state, the Comprehensive School Improvement List or the Targeted Schools Improvement List. We had one school on the list, and certainly you didn't know that. That's the Perry Learning Academy, which that's an alternative school. But you should know also that out of all of the alternative schools in the state of Georgia, the Perry Learning Academy had the highest graduation rate. So as part of our strategy for increasing graduation rate, Perry Academy was very, very strategic in working with the high schools to ensure that we address those students that were overage and underachieved and were allowed to be able to make up their credits. And so that as we talk about a district of culture of high performance, then certainly any and everything that we do, there's a strategy and we're strategic as we go about it. Our highlights that you will see listed here, again, I will not go over them specifically, but please take some time to share this information. As you'll hear this listed on our agenda, Dr. Wilson will speak about teacher retention, but let me be honest. You are teacher retention. You are teacher retention because if you talk or speak about your role, your position, your work, and the fact that you are very, very satisfactory and satisfied in your work, then that is what we would also like to use as a recruiting tool, not just as teachers, but all of our classified and certified individuals or employees. We are our best recruitment. And so as we speak about the great things that's going on in our district and in our workplace, then hopefully, and we expect for that to ignite. We expect for others, as they hear that, to want to be a part of it. And so when we talk about high-performing culture or high-performing culture, it's in every single thing that we do. Not just the schoolhouse, but as it relates to leadership, all of the divisions and all of the departments. This, again, is an opportunity for us to make sure that we hear from you. You have an opportunity to ask questions as you see fit, and certainly we have expertise in our division heads that are here that will be able to answer those questions for you. But if I don't, and I don't want to forget this, I want to make sure that I wish all of you a happy holiday, that you retool, recharge, get some rest, spend time with family, love and hug on someone, and then we expect you to come back in January and be ready to roll. Now, there's some chatter, I'm sure, that you probably heard about our advanced learning plan. And Dr. Lee will be sharing some information about that. But let me just share a little bit about where that has come from. Yes, we are about increasing your expectations. A lot can be said about us and the things that we've done and the results that we get. So it's obvious that if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to continue to get the same results. So some might think that how can you, or why would we go in a direction of where we're expecting students to be exposed to and perform better on what could be and will be more challenging instruction? That you're absolutely right. I understand that. This is going to be about high expectations, and much of that is going to come and going to begin at the schoolhouse level. What we expect children to do and what we believe children can do will start with the classroom teacher. And I have to be honest with you. For those that don't believe our children can do it, I would expect that those people are not in front of our children, because we need teachers who will believe that our children can rise to the occasion. We have no doubt that our students can. We just maybe hope and we believe that our teachers will be able to. And for those that don't feel or believe, it's the same question that I always ask the teachers. Are you the type of teacher you would want your child to have? And if you're not the type of teacher, then I have to question, why is it that you're teaching those children or the children that you teach? Because why would we think less of them? Our role as advocates, we should advocate for those who don't advocate or who can't advocate for themselves. So our responsibility, which we take wholeheartedly, our responsibility is to provide the very, very best of an opportunity for a child. So in a nutshell, that's what this is about. We are stepping up. We're stepping it up. We're rising to higher expectations, and nobody throughout the country is doing it, and that's not the reason we're doing it. We believe and we know and feel that this is the best for our children in Clayton County. So as Dr. Beasley has said this so often, when people want to talk about a model and comparing Clayton County public schools to another school district, we're creating our own model. You can't compare us to anyone else. And so this is not a copycat or approach that we're taking. We're leading and believing that this is the best thing for children. And so this is what it's about. And please note that, again, I want to go back to something I said earlier. High expectations. We have to believe it. We have to believe it as educators. We have to believe it as our leaders in our buildings. And we have to believe it all the way down to the classroom. Because certainly, I know, and I can just about imagine, I mentioned to say that every parent will be happy about the fact that their child or children are going to be exposed to more rigor and more challenge. I would expect for a parent to be pleased about the fact, and satisfied that their children will be taking accelerated courses, and they'll have the exposure of taking an advanced placement course, unlike myself. That was years and years ago. Things are completely different now. And we live in a much more competitive society in this country and outside of it. So it's important that our children are exposed. And we believe that. We expect that. And we expect for all of our teachers and our leaders and all of our employees, because that's what it means to be committed to a high-performing organization. That's what high performance is. And so we don't just use that as a buzzword. We live that, we breathe that, and we walk that. So again, without going into any specifics, because we have some departments and division heads that will speak on it at this time, I'd like to bring to the podium Dr. Lee to speak about the advanced academic objectives.
If you don't mind, just giving a brief update about SWAS.
Oh, sure. Again, of course, everyone knows about, let me this mic. East Clayton opened in 2018, and our ongoing renovations at a number of our high schools and middle schools, and again, I won't read those to you. We have some HVAC upgrades that in some of our buildings have needed them for a very long time. We actually have the ribbon cutting ceremony at K-Pace on tomorrow. And then SPLOS 5 expires December 2019. Now something that's coming up is going to be very, very important on March 19th. It's up there March 19th, SPLOS 6. So a number of projects that are being proposed. Again, we can't tell you what to vote for, how to vote, but it's important that we do vote. We can only do these things and make these upgrades if we have an approved SPLOS. And on March 19th, that is going to be very, very, very critical One of the things that may not be up there is, the College and Career Academy. You've probably seen or heard of college and career academies throughout metropolitan Atlanta, but it's certainly time for a college and career academy to land in Clayton County. A couple of weeks ago, I think maybe 2-3 weeks ago, some members of our staff had an opportunity to go to Toulouse, France. I don't know if many of you all have heard about it, but the intent and the objective was to go and establish a partnership, an MOU or MOA with the school district in Toulouse for our students to have the exposure for foreign exchange. That was the intent and the objective, and we came back with that. But certainly, we all came back as different individuals. We came back as different parents, and we probably came back as different educators. Why? Because we saw children performing at a level in which we want our own to perform at. Certainly because of that, there were a lot of ideas generated. And because of that, in addition to the College and Career Academy, we're having some strong discussion about a school for aeronautics. Why? Or a school for aviation. Why? Because the world's busiest airport is in the backyard of Clayton County. It's in Clayton County. Why not? Why not be the county that's recognized all over the world for providing opportunities for children or families who want fields and careers in aviation? And so look for that to come along with what we're planning on doing with the SPOS dollars. Of course, we know we're going to have to purchase one new school bus. And certainly, and Mr. Smith, Rod Smith, our Chief Technology, certainly will speak on some enhancements and some improvements along the lines of technology. Our maximum revenue is there, and then certainly our 2020-2024 collection period. So March 19th is very, very critical. We need you to get out and vote. Again, I won't tell you how to vote, but none of these things will be possible if we don't have this passage of our SPOS vote on March 19th. Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Dr. Simpson. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing this evening, afternoon, ready for the holidays? So I will be brief with providing an update, but also share with you that we will go into more detail regarding the Advanced Learning Plan during a critical Teacher Impact Day, January 16th. And so that day will be shared with schools, and they'll have the opportunity to share with teachers, but we really want all of our educators to understand the why. So by a show of hands, how many of you are in total support of expanding advanced and accelerated learning opportunities for our students? Okay. And by show of hands, how many of you know it will have some challenges? Yes. But at the same time, as we're ramping up the expectations and knowing that there will be challenges, we've been very intentional with the support that will be provided not only for our students, but for our teachers, for our leaders, and for our parents. And so specifically, question, did you all read The Opportunity Myth, the article? We'll send it back out to you. But read that briefing from the New Teacher Project, because it was a fascinating study around when students are presented with higher expectations, they rise to those expectations, right? So that's not a new finding. But it did talk about how, as a nation, many of our educational structures are engineered to create inequitable outcomes that we see among students. So students who are in the AP classes, there's dialogue about college. I mean, they're talking about their competitiveness, and they're talking about their strategies. Those classrooms where kids are not in those classes, those conversations may or may not occur. And so that article was really an impetus to how can we begin to expand. So step one, this will not be a mass undertaking for phase one. So next year, for K-5, in order to build a foundation for more rigorous instruction, in addition to our rigorous and relevant implementation, we want our students to experience the research project more extensively. So we know in research, that's how you build knowledge, that's how you build your questioning, your strategic thinking skills. And so for K-5, for right now, our initial approach is how can we take that science and social studies project and really expand it and give students a greater depth into that type of thinking and doing for K-5. For rising sixth graders, and Dr. Clark should be here shortly, and I see I'm joined by other team members. for rising sixth graders next year, they will take accelerated math. So as we looked at the Georgia Milestones data, students who entered the accelerated math class, even if they were below level in math, collectively outperformed the students who didn't have exposure to the accelerated math class. And so rising sixth graders, which means the current sixth grade math teachers, will be our accelerated math instructors, and our students will be in accelerated math class. We still will have collaborative settings with the accelerated content. We still will have our REP option if students need math support. So the support will still be there. The IEP will still govern the continuation of services for our students. Our ESOL students will still, our ELs, will still receive the services they need. And what Dr. Clark, the math coordinator, what she's working with the team of teachers, and I thought oh, you are here from Forest Park Middle. Tell me your name again.
Derwin Binion.
Mr. Binion. And so a team of teachers are working together to really compact the sixth grade curriculum to prioritize which concepts really need extensive time versus those that can be addressed in another fashion so that we don't overwhelm students. And so accelerated math includes all of sixth grade and half of a part of seventh grade curriculum. So that's hence acceleration. We're accelerating you to the next level earlier. So that's for sixth grade. All rising ninth graders will be required to take at least one advanced placement course. All rising ninth graders will be required to take at least one advanced placement course. So their options right now are AP Environmental Science, AP Human Geography, AP Computer Science Principles, and still AP World History. So we've been very selective, looking at data, getting guidance from College Board, because there were a couple we had listed, and College Board, speaking with our Advanced Learning Coordinator, Chrissy Heath, shared this may not be one you want to offer for ninth graders. Let's give them a chance to get familiar with the content, the depth of knowledge that's required, as well as the high school experience. We will also provide a support reading class for students who are at the beginning and developing level. So right now we're looking at the option of, for first semester, having those students in support reading to provide the needed literacy skills for the advanced learning program. So we're ramping it up, but at the same time providing the support for the students as they're in these advanced courses. In addition to advanced placement course, as we look at our CTAE data, and you see it on the two-pager snapshot, students who complete a CTAE course, it's basically a 95% graduation rate for CTAE pathway completers. And so what we can potentially deduce from that is that students who are in a career pathway of interest tend to finish. And so finishing meaning graduate. So we want our students, our rising ninth graders, to start thinking about what is your career interest. And that conversation should be happening at the middle school. How many of you are middle school? Anyone from middle school? Okay. So hopefully advisement is occurring at the 8th grade around their options so that students are not randomly selecting. So they should take the youth science assessment. That should give them insight into their interests, their strengths, their talents, and from there, strategically selecting a CTAE pathway to be a part of their journey in high school. And so rising ninth graders, we're really ramping up the support, but also the expectations, you all, so that by the time they graduate, they've had exposure to, at minimum, 2 advanced placement courses where they are college and career ready. I love how Dr. Beasley says that we keep saying college and career ready, but most of our students are not in a college or career type of course. And so just know, teachers, we don't want leaders, everyone to have any type of anxiety about it. It's going to be a phase-in process. We've partnered with College Board, National Math Science Initiative for the support, as well as other partners to join us on this journey. So that is our advanced learning plan in a nutshell. I do want to just introduce team members who are here. Again, I mentioned Christy Heath, the Advanced Learning Coordinator, Janetta Greenwood, the Science Coordinator, and Regina Wallace, who stepped out, the Social Studies Coordinator. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Good afternoon. Just want to provide a little update on teacher retention. Dr. Simpson alluded to it earlier. One of our goals in human resources this year is to take an in-depth look at our teacher retention and or attrition, depending on how you look at it. I totally agree that we are our best tool for recruiting and retaining our teachers, our employees. We're the best tool there is. So we're going to take a look. There's a task force that has been developed whereby we're taking a look at our exit surveys, our climate surveys. We're going to drill down to the school level and provide them a tool so that they can drill down to figure out, why are our teachers staying? Let's talk to those who are staying. What are we doing right? We're also going to talk to those teachers who may be on the fence about leaving to figure out, what is it that will cause you to leave? Is it something internally at our local school? Is it something district-wide that we're doing? So more to come on that. The task force meets monthly to take a look at that. So thus far, we've started work on the exit survey, the work climate survey. I think our next meeting is maybe January 16th. And hopefully at that time, we'll conclude both of those instruments and get those out in preparation for end of year. So more to come on the retention part of it. I did want to mention for contracts for the upcoming school year for 1920. They'll be issued February 22nd. It is our goal, and we're pretty certain we'll be able to do it with technology support, to distribute contracts electronically this year. So, you know, in the past, you would get the contract and you would have to find someone to notarize it for you. You turn it to your principal and he or she would drive it over to HR. We had a webinar today that went really well. So it is our goal that on February 22nd, we'll be able to distribute those contracts electronically. And you simply sign electronically using DocuSign, and those will return back to us. So the paper will go away. You'll have an electronic copy for your records. You can also print a hard copy if you choose to do so. Okay. Next, I'm going to give an update on behalf of Business Services, which is our finance department, in terms of the compensation study. There are talks in terms of a compensation study that's badly needed in Clayton County Schools. Typically, studies are done every 3 to 5 years. Some say 5 to 7, but 5 is the middle grounds in terms of when you should do a compensation study. For Clayton, it's probably been about 8 or 9 years since it's been done. So it's time to do a study. There are talks about doing the study, but what we can share at this point is that when the study does begin, the focus will be on our classified employees, our custodians, our bus drivers, our school nutrition workers. Because they're the lowest paid employees in our school district. Not that all of our employees are not important, but these are the employees who typically earn the least amount of compensation. They're typically in a retirement plan that's not comparable to most of us that are in this room. Their retirement plan is perhaps a third of what we receive for those of us that are TRS. So more to come on that study in 2019. But it is a top priority for Dr. Beasley and the school board in terms of getting a study done and beginning to increase the salaries of all employees, but we will begin with those employees who are the lowest paid. And if there are questions at the end of the presentation, I'll be happy to answer those.
Good afternoon. I only have 2 things to talk about: the extended learning beyond the classroom and our digital classroom refresh. I will give you the digital classroom refresh update first, because we only have about 14 schools left. Does everybody know what I'm talking about when I say digital classroom refresh? How many of you are excited about the interactive flat panels that you're having installed in your room, along with you are good, with the document camera, the document view, and the student response systems, okay? We are about 14 schools away from being fully complete. We hope to have that project fully complete if your school hadn't been done sometime in late February. What I do want to add to that is that there are digital learning specialists that have been assigned to your school. Raise your hand if you know who your digital learning specialist is. Good. That's perfect. Take advantage of them, because they were a part of the wraparound services that we purchased when we installed or when we decided to move in the direction of replace your projectors. You remember, and Dr. Simpson alluded to this, none of this happens without SPLOS, right? So when SPLOS 6 comes around, can't tell you how to vote, but March 19th, you need to go out and vote. The reason I bring that up is because before I came and before this refresh, we spent, or the district spent, about $40 million on interactive classroom technology, and you guys didn't get any kind of support relative to how you were supposed to use that technology to integrate into your instruction. So that's why I'm really saying take advantage of those digital learning specialists, because they're a part of that service that we purchased, and they'll eventually go away, okay? So we have them for about another 2 years, so we really want you to take advantage of that. The other thing that I want to update you on, or Dr. Beasley asked me to update you on, was the extended learning beyond the classroom. If you are a teacher at North Clayton High School, Babb Middle School, Brown Elementary, and I believe Harper's the other elementary school, many districts around the metro are doing what's called a one-to-one. What's a one-to-one? Anybody? Every student gets to take their laptop or device home. Well, you guys are a part of the teacher advisory committee. Dr. Beasley also has a student advisory committee. And in his first student advisory committee last year, when he first became superintendent, there were many students who asked the question, when are we going to be like Henry County, Fayette County, Fulton County, and get our own devices to take home? Well, they came to me and challenged my team, and we came up with this plan to pilot these 4 schools to really get a sense of how well our students would do and what kind of instruction, what kind of practices the teachers would use with those devices, because we just didn't want them taking them home and use them just to surf the internet. So those 4 schools, I'm proud to say, is anybody here from North Clayton, Babb, Harper? Okay. So you've seen some of what's going on there. And I will tell you, the principal of Babb, not to just single her out, but she was ecstatic. She had the very best turnout of any of those 4 schools when we rolled that out. And those students were so appreciative. We thought that we would have, and this speaks to our students, and raising that expectation that Dr. Lee mentioned. There were many on my staff who thought, why are we doing this? Not many, I shouldn't say that. There were a couple on my staff who thought, why are we doing this? Our kids are just going to tear these up, and they're going to get stolen. I've not heard of one instance, well, that's not true. I've heard of one instance where it was stolen or misplaced, and we got it back. Okay? That's 4 schools. That's about 3,000 Chromebook computers, and I've not had one instance where it was lost or stolen. So when we set our expectations for our students high, they deliver. It's clear. So be excited about that. Hopefully in SPLOS 6, if things go really well, Dr. Beasley may allow us to do some adjustment. That program or that project is kind of scheduled to last to go to 4 years until we're completely 3rd through 12 with the student, every student 3rd through 12 having a device. If we could speed that up, part of this pilot may help us to speed that up. The feedback that we're getting now is extremely positive, so we're excited about that. And if you guys cheer that on, maybe Dr. Beasley will help us identify those funds in SPLOS 6 to speed that project up. I don't have anything else to say. I hope you guys have an incredible holiday. Enjoy your family. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Now you've reached the portion of our agenda where there's questions and answers that you can pose to any member of our team. Will be spearheaded by Dr. Simpson. And if you have any questions, just raise your hand and I will be sure to approach you with the microphone. And please speak into the mic as we are recording today's event. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So my name is April Bramble. I'm from Perry Career Academy. My question, or I guess I would say a concern. I'm the content lead for the Family Consumer Science teachers in the county, and our concern is we do a lot of traveling with our student organization, FCCLA, and had a meeting with Mr. Walker about transportation, because we travel a lot and it's a concern when we have to go out of state and that type of thing. And so when we pull up different conferences, we'll pull up and we'll see Decatur City High has an SUV, we'll see this county has an SUV or personal vehicles, and we're using our personal vehicles for a lot of the transportation. And we get reimbursed, but we're still putting a lot of miles around personal cars. And so the concern is, can we use the vehicles that we have in the county, or how can we maybe get a grant, work with Lonnie to get some more vehicles that teachers can use? We have a conference in Savannah next month. We have to go to Savannah. It's like 4 of us going, so it would be perfect if we could just get a vehicle, jump in there, gas it up, and go. Wouldn't have to worry about reimbursements or anything like that. So, table on the question on table. Can we get more vehicles? Can we have more access to vehicles in our fleet?
And certainly we appreciate all of what you all are doing. Just in providing those opportunities for our students. Vehicles, obviously, we are having our fleet of the bus drivers or the buses. They're just not vehicles at our disposal. But we do want you to ride luxury. We want you to feel comfortable when you transport our students. Mr. Walker obviously is not here. I don't think there's one person here from his department, but I think she may have left out. Dr. Chillis is our CTA coordinator. I'll certainly speak with her. She, falls upon our division to see if we can provide some better means of transporting you all, other than certainly your vehicles on longer trips. We might have to venture off into looking at possibilities of private transportation by the way of coach buses, and that's something we can certainly look into. But because Mr. Walker is not here to speak specifically as to what we might have available, I'll defer to him, and I'll certainly get your information and provide you with a little bit more information.
Well, that's for our preface. We've already had that meeting, and there are none available. There's one SUV, he said, there's a couple of sedans, but and not. And so
then we probably
need
would have to
vehicles.
look at, we probably have to, depending on the number of students you're transporting.
It can vary. Like if we just had a trip to Kentucky, for instance. We had a trip last year to Indiana. Every year is something different. And sometimes we're transferring about 20 students. So we have great parent support. So we're carpooling, down the highway with 4 or 5 vehicles.
So let me get with Mr. Walker as well as Dr. Chillis, and we'll see what we can come with. But certainly we want to support you all. Absolutely.
Hello, my name is Atanya Jean Funny, North Clayton High School. First, I want to say that I was a state officer in your organization when I was in high school. It's a fabulous organization. I was able to go from Florida to California. You meet people all over the country. So it's an organization that we need to support for our students. It teaches a lot of self-confidence and exposure, leadership, and how to do what I'm doing now, which is standing in front of everyone. But my question, as we look at the compensation, salary study, things like that, I would like to know, are there any talks on the table about unfreezing our contracts, our salaries, the teacher salaries?
Yes, thank you for that question. That will be a part of the compensation study when it does take place. But Dr. Beasley has committed to the first portions of monies will be for those lower paid employees.
So are you telling us that we will go through another salary freeze?
No.
Because you said that study is going to take some time. So when we get our contracts in February, will it have the same salary that we got this year, or will we continue to get our steps, not just with experience, but also with the financial contributions that come with it?
Correct, yes. Those are two separate questions. The salary increases and the steps that you're talking about, that will be a conversation that the superintendent and the board will have to have in terms of whether or not any employee will receive a pay increase for next year. Now, the contracts that you will receive, they will have the current year's salary on it. Contracts always have the current year's salary, and you receive the increase in the next school year. So the current contract that you'll be issued in February will have your current salary. The superintendent and board will have to decide whether or not pay increases will be given for all employees.
So that's not going to happen before we get our contracts. You're not going to have that conversation with the school board before we get our contracts.
They may have that conversation. I can't speak for when that decision will be made, but the compensation study is different than a pay increase. At this point, I am unable to say to you whether or not any person in this room will receive a pay increase next year.
I just want to make sure we don't have the incident where we had last year where we signed our contracts and then found out that our salaries was frozen. So if there's Are we gonna be working with the same money we had this year, or are we gonna be working with our increase? If you all can just let us know definitely. We don't need that, oh, we still talking about it. Can we just know?
Yeah, we'll take it back and we'll share it with Dr. Beasley, and he'll share it with the board authority.
Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
Hi, my name is Amanda Schrader. I'm a teacher over at Jonesboro High School. One of the concerns that a lot of teachers have, fine arts teachers have around the county, is the new proposed schedule for next year for the high school, going to the 4x4 block scheduling. This creates a lot of issues with the fine arts classes because these are year-long classes. They need to be year-long classes. They are skills-based classes. One of the things that people have talked about is possibly making fine arts year-long classes. So instead of having, the one semester and another semester, okay, we say make it the 2 semesters long. That does take up 2 credits for the year just for one class, technically, for one ensemble. We're already running into issues with trying to help students think about, brainstorm what classes they might take. We have a lot of musically gifted students who now have to make a choice between not only, their academic classes and music, but between music classes. We have a freshman this year who is very talented in both the guitar class and the choir class, but come next year, if this is the schedule, she'll have to make a choice between one or the other. She won't be able to do both all 4 years. Other conflicts that we have that will pop up is with the ROTC classes. And they're also kind of going through the same thing because those are also should be year-long classes. There's a lot of overlap between the arts and the ROTC. And I know some people like to say well, they can go to Stillwell because it's arts class, it's art school, which if kids want to go there, we love having them go there. But Stillwell's not always an option for our students because maybe they had past grades that weren't the best, or if they're interested in athletics or ROTC. This also limits the number of music classes that we're allowed or that we're able to teach because now instead of having 6 different music classes during the day offered year long, we only have the 4 periods a day, which is 3 teaching periods plus planning. If those are offered year long, that's only 3 classes that we could really offer. So some of the stuff that we were thinking might possibly happen because of this is either schools might try to combine some of our classes, beginning and advanced kids, which that doesn't work. They try saying, there's other schools that have like Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 together, which I don't know if that doesn't even work well. But when you have, between 30 and 60 kids on instruments all in one room playing out loud, you can't really split them up and teach 2 classes separately. Other consequences, which we've really had to try to figure out, is programs now might be cut. I know at Jonesboro, for my program specifically, since I don't have any orchestra feeders, next year I will need to have a beginning orchestra and an advanced orchestra. I also have a beginning guitar and an advanced guitar. But even if I offer those all year long, that's 4 different ensembles, 4 different classes, and unless I give up my planning, I don't have room for all 4 of those. And that's going to create an issue next year. One possible solution, maybe, could be that other students in the past I've already talked about, maybe offering the summer school classes, or I know there's like the credit recovery classes. Those are all supposed to be for students that have failed a previous class. Maybe we can offer extra time outside of school for students to take a class, a core academic class to catch up, or just to get over, take their extra math classes, their extra English classes over the summer, so it offers up more time during the school year. But really, a lot of us arts teachers in the county, in the high school, would like to know what steps will the county take to ensure that our students are not prevented from reaching their full potential in the arts because of this scheduling.
Okay, thank you. And I want that list that you have right there. You can just leave me with that. Because you left me, I left you probably about 2-3 minutes ago, but no, I appreciate that. Those are all valid concerns. Of course, I can't respond to that. But no, what I will do is, if you can leave that with me and or send it to me, I'll make sure that someone responds to that. But do me a favor, because you had some solutions, you included some solutions there. For every concern, provide us with a solution and we will certainly consider it. But I can say this, I can stand here and say this with confidence. Our goal is certainly not to marginalize or eliminate any programs. That's not what we're in the business of doing. So block scheduling will not create an opportunity or deny students opportunities. That's not the intent. We have someone working strategically with our principals to create or continue to provide at least what we're already providing, and if more. Having been a principal at a school where we had block scheduling, 2 or 3 schools, ROTC obviously was something we had all year long, and I can think of a number of the elective courses. So I've had the experiences of doing so, and it's very, very possible. But if you would, please provide me with that list and not email it to me directly. Include some of your solutions, if not all of them, and your suggestions, and I can guarantee you we'll get back to you. Yes, sir. Oh, there it is.
As we've been working with the block scheduling, I did speak to someone at the state and they made a recommendation. So I made the recommendation to our district level human resources, or I don't know what department she's in. However, music classes will be all year, so that is not an issue. Okay? We have already made that discussion and we are working on sample schedules to give to principals. So again, music classes will be all year long. Okay?
Thank you.
My name is Coach Hill. I'm at Forest Park Middle School. I've been teaching 12 years, and I would like to make a suggestion to the group. Just something to think about. Most of my experience is in middle school, and building a connection with parents is crucial, and the children. Here's what I recommend. Science and social studies. I recommend that they loop with the children, start with the 6th grade, stay with the children to the 7th grade, and stay with the children to the 8th grade. Science and social studies teachers only. And the reason being is, and I've done it before, you build a connection with the children, and you also build a connection with parents. And I also recommend that social studies and science teachers be trained in language arts and math to help the math and science, language arts teachers out. And this is not going on, at least not in our school, as far as doing something similar to this. This is on my 2nd year. But the point being is, you build more of a relationship with children because they see you year after year, and also you get to know the parents. And you know from day one of the new school year what the deficits are and what the strengths are. Thank you.
And thanks for those suggestions, Coach. We have both our coordinators for science and social studies. So you all want to comment on that?
So thank you for your recommendation. I can definitely say for science and social studies, we are trying to incorporate math and ELA trainings through our argument-driven inquiry and document-based questions supports. We definitely collaborate frequently with the ELA coordinator as well to make sure that we are addressing some of those high-impact practices for literacy. So we recognize that support is needed for teachers, and we do try to provide that in the training. But if you have something very, very specific that you would like to see more in our trainings, please provide us with that, and we'll definitely try to incorporate it.
What do you think about it?
I actually am trying that out right now at Rexmill Middle School. We're doing something that's a pilot right now, and the plan is for that teacher to follow her students from 6th, 7th, and 8th, and we'll see how that goes. But if we see some positive outcomes, we'll definitely make the recommendations to other principals.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Val from Kent Primary. Our grades K through 2. We don't have major issues. We have mild issues and concerns. 2 things. One is the technology in our computer lab for the assessments. iReady, kids love the iReady. iReady, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Clark. is the assessment of DIBELS with the students. We know the research says that DIBELS is primarily based for early childhood readiness, effectiveness. But one of the things that we're seeing is that the consistency with the Imagine program and DIBELS is being made to fit, and it doesn't fit. So one of the things that we noticed was that in our primary building, our second grade was doing the iReading. Is there any way possible we can take it to suggestion that the iReading become a consistency assessment for readiness to see where the kids are for the BOYs, MOY, and EOY? Instead of us jumping in between assessments, between the iReading and the iMath, and the DIBELS, and the MClass, and things vice versa. We need some consistencies, especially for the babies. The other thing is that with the technology, the computers at the primary schools are not updated enough to handle the power that these assessments are given. So that's one of the things that we would like for you guys to look at when we are dealing with this.
So I'll note the computer lab, but just for clarity, the technology department has never purchased computer labs for schools. Most computer labs are funded through title funds. So that's number one. So we really would have to get with your principal and get with the title coordinator, the title director, to find out if there's some funds available to update the computer lab. Relative to testing in school, technology does provide the computers that we use for GMATs, and that's a combination of school district funded devices and technology, and title funded devices.
We don't take GMAT.
Okay, so that's easy. But relative to the lab having issues, we are there to support. So I would like to get some of my guys out there to take a look at the lab and at least give an assessment on where that lab is from a updated or non-updated device standpoint. And if you'll send me an email or just give me your name before you leave, I'll make sure my guys come out and check on the lab and give you a report.
Okay, last thing. Oh, I'm sorry.
So, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding your question. Thank you for your question. Your question is, can we use the iReady in place of DIBELS or to supplement DIBELS?
Okay, I'm going to say it like this.
Okay.
I've been in Clayton since 1999. I've seen the assessments come and go, come and go. One of the things is DIBELS been here a long time. And with the updated version of the children that we have, the happiness that I'm seeing with iReading, iMath is, the math is iReady math, is that they enjoy it because it actually gives them a break in between the assessments to say, oh, okay, now I can go back to the test. And that's one of the things. Now the DIBELS, they've got to sit there with us. I don't want to do this. Why do you want me to read this? I don't want to do this. Can we go on? And then the attention is shot, the scores drop, which hurts the data. So that's what I'm saying.
And so, essentially, if you look at the two instruments, they're tools designed to do two different things. So DIBELS, and as you know, because you've been here, is truly designed first to measure our students' learning of the basic reading skills. iReady reading isn't designed to do that. DIBELS, being dynamic indicators of basic early literacy, we're truly measuring phonemic awareness and early phonics skills. And one of the reasons why we appreciate DIBELS is because it does require the teacher to still be involved with listening to students' pronunciation, their articulation. Are they truly acquiring these sounds and letter sound correspondence skills? Whereas iReady is an assessment tool, it is a diagnostic, but it assesses a range of literacy skills, even vocabulary becomes, and comprehension, those skills. And so it has not been designed, and the research base is not there yet, because we did look at it. And that's why we implemented at grades 2nd through 8th, the iReady. But for K and 1, that teacher component, and that's why we need the teachers to just stay excited about it, to show enthusiasm, and also to make sure students understand why they're the DIBELs. Are they charting their goals? Are they tracking their oral reading fluency and getting excited when they're seeing the growth? And then as they're going through the Imaginate and they're learning the different skills in Imaginate, saying, okay, now when we take the DIBELs, that's why it's measuring your acquisition or your learning that we're teaching you through our instruction. And so I know DIBELs is not as up to date or has the bells and whistles of iReady reading and math, but right now iReady reading doesn't have the research base to support that it's truly a screener for students at risk of reading failure, as well as truly measuring those foundational skills. Okay, so right now we have to continue with both. Now the other instrument that we are looking at it closely as we begin our innovative assessment rollout is the math assessment, because the math is being used nationwide. There's quite a bit of data that now we can start to see if it truly measures early reading skills. Those early reading skills. And we got Chris.
We got part B to that.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be very short, just because I work with EIP also.
Okay.
And so one thing I want you to remember too is that DIBELS is not a program. DIBELS is just a checkup. And so that's how kids should see this. Hey, this is just my checkup. I'm checking on where I am. I'm seeing where I'm going. And we use that data, and we did. I want you to know we went through all of this. And you see how we pushed. We're doing some things very differently in EIP this year, and how we're handling things. So, and that's listening to you guys, because that's very important to us. But it truly, iReady does not give us what DIBELS would give, which is that checkup of what those the need and awareness indicators are. Okay. So that's really a big thing. But you're telling me, I need to make sure I get back to our EIP and stuff to make sure that we're getting more information out to understand why we did what we did too. So.
Well, no, I don't think it's the EIP.
I mean across the board.
But it's the response from the students.
From the student.
Right.
It's not the EIP. The EIP is
So
awesome.
I like how Christy is saying, messaging around, this is our check-in, now get your goals, let's revisit your goals. So students, this is our regular check-in. Bring your goals that you've been charting. Let's see where we are with meeting those end-of-year goals. And if students are truly engaged in charting their journey and that goal setting, and they're able to have conversations about their data, we've been able to visit a few schools where the students are leading those conversations. There's a little bit more engagement, excitement in it. So iReady at this point, we don't want to base a purchase on student engagement and interest alone. We really want to make sure it's the research base that supports it, and we just need teachers like you to continue to give us that insight, but also how we can use both seamlessly and still get the end result.
Okay. Last one is, I'm not going to just come with problems.
Just like you're on the advisory committee.
And I offer a solution. I am also an early childhood ambassador for Atlanta Public Schools. But Clayton, I can't use it in Clayton because it can only be used in Atlanta. But one of the things about that is that when I talk to the director of early education with Atlanta, one of the things is community-based, is that they do go into the community to get those kids that are in the gaps. So by the time that they get to the school district, they won't be in the gaps anymore. Even though, there's a report card for every county based off of the poverty rate, the reading rate. One of the things that he told me was that we could write a grant specifically for Clayton to go out and grab these kids, because being in the district of Clayton County is not what it used to be, but it is what it is today. And one of the things when I did my research, which was on pre-K and kindergarten readiness, was the fact that a lot of kids come in and they don't know. And then they come in and they get dibbles. And they're like, are you kidding me? And then we want to close that gap. And one of the things to close that gap is to probably have more of the early childhood ambassadors, not only just Clayton County's pre-K program, but to have more going out maybe into the daycares, to the communities, to the Head Starts, to the YMCAs, to the recreation centers, to bring that in so that we can close that early literacy gap.
And I love the idea of having the ambassadors. I would like to just share that we have an early learning team that is that's been very hands-on with getting to parents prior to pre-K. So one, we have expanded pre-K. This year we implemented a few more classes, and our goal is to ultimately eventually have a pre-K for every school, or at least a pre-K center with our students are coming to us. And we still have kids for the early learning centers, but we have our early learning team. They have gone into the community. They did the bus ride into the recreation center, into the neighborhoods. We recently visited the WIC Center through Dr. Beasley having a conversation, and we looked at how we can start hosting parent meetings. We're partnering with United Way to do those sessions at the library monthly with parents and educating them. We're also working with United Way to do, I can't remember the name of the initiative, where you get to the pediatricians to start getting out books to the students. And so I would love to connect with you more to get some of the ideas of how we can expand our reach. But I will say the reason we changed the name from just pre-K to early learning is so that we could build that bridge with birth to pre-K, that connection, and increase our students' readiness. At the last parent meeting, we had a Start Smart Kit for parents starting at birth, things you can do to build that readiness, and you can do it each stage of age for the students prior to them coming, even simple as read aloud, how to do a read aloud with their students, and having conversations with them, to get them ready. Yeah, thank you. And what's your name?
Can we also add that we've tasked the new director with also having a meeting, a voluntary meeting, of course, and we're hoping to get as much participation from the private pre-Ks to make sure that we share with them our curriculum.
Dr. Smith, our superintendent.
To align to ensure that even though we may not have our hands on those kids in the private sector, we are hoping that they will be amenable to assuring that their curriculum is aligned with what we're doing, so it'll be a seamless transition from private to public.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, is for us to be able to get our hands on those kids.
Right.
As well, because the early childhood ambassadors, we offer resources to those parents when they can't find, is there a pre-K program here? We can direct them in that direction that they can go and get that, and that's what I was sharing with you.
And our new
put that initiative in.
Our early learning coordinator, Dr. Joy Bradley, she's actually from Atlanta Public Schools, and she was responsible for rolling out a lot of that early learning program initiative. And so I can just tell in her 2 weeks of planning that's where her mind is, the outreach and connection. We already host sessions with the early learning centers. And so through the meeting with Dr. Smith, he did say, how can we ensure that what they're teaching the students aligns to what we're asking our students to have when they come to Clayton County.
Don't forget to share that we're planning to do early learning center.
Yes, definitely. We talked about that at the first advisory meeting.
Yeah. And even make sure the right parents, all parents know about the early learning, but definitely our students who are really in need of the additional support, that they're aware that we offer pre-K, that there are early learning opportunities for our students. Dr. Smith?
No, I was going to say it's noteworthy, I think, to know that we are working with Dr. Dunn with our counselors at all of the elementary schools to ensure that we're prioritizing the most needy students. Because sometimes the parents are not aware, and if they got older siblings, as they come in to register them, we're making them aware that a pre-K program does exist and the details about it, so they can make sure that they take advantage of it. So we're making a more deliberate attempt to ensure that we're capturing the most needy students in our programs. And like she said, we added 4 classes, which is 88 students, and if we can do that that each year, over a period of years, we can get our programs expanded to the point that we would be more comfortable than we are now.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, Dr. Simpson was my professor at Argosy too, so.
That explains it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll take credit for that.
Hey, good evening. I'm Carrie Nelson, also from Kent Primary. So I have a different viewpoint. Sorry, Dr. Battle, we were on the same team last year. My kids hate iReady. I have the high and the gifted kids, so my iReady was no problem. I've got kids scoring in 3rd grade and I'm a 2nd grade teacher. Woo, fantastic. They hate it. I had to take off all the coins, of course, because they wanted to play all day. They hate it. The other thing is, I think it's really hard. I do think it's a challenge because I sat with a student today who would not stop just clicking during his test and just sat there and, had an opportunity to read it while he was reading it. And it was hard. I was like, they were doing the Odyssey, 2nd grade. So I was like, whoa, this is really hard. I'm not opposed to accelerating, obviously, because I have a class that is very high, and they need the challenge. And I push them every day to do more and more and more. This particular child, once I sat with them, did rise to the challenge. But I think it's the time, because I usually generally do about 15 to 20 minutes a day, just because their attention span is so low, even in 2nd grade. I know it looks like frills, but they don't like it. It's hard. It's not, and I agree with you, it's not for teaching phonics. It's for higher. So it's not a good idea for 1st grade unless they're accelerated. So that's just my viewpoint. I'm doing it and I'm learning it, and my kids are doing fantastic. My teammates are, not quite as lucky because their kids are not as good a readers yet. I got the high kids, so I'm blessed with that. But that comes with other challenges. What I really want to talk about, but I just wanted to add that, is class size. We have 26 right now in my class. I had 27. I know it sounds low to middle school and high school. You're all like, what is she complaining about? 2nd graders. They're very busy, and I have the high kids, so they're very, very, very busy. We're getting to a point, of course, right now I'm glad it's break tomorrow. Thank you, because I'm tired of them. But in 2 weeks, I will be back refreshed to teach my kids again. And it's really hard with 26 kids. I'm lucky because while I have the majority high, I do have some regular children who have been accelerated because I'm pushing them just like I'm pushing the others. But 26 kids is a lot. I challenge anybody to come and teach 26 kids in 1st or 2nd or even kindergarten. I have no para. I only get planning 3 days a week, and that's if I get it. Half the time I don't because of whatever. We have kids till 3 o'clock. That's not anybody's fault because, buses. It's very hard to stick planning time in. And I'm the team lead, and we're supposed to collaborate, and we have no time. We don't collaborate during the day because we're all on different schedules because we only have 3 specials. That's a problem for us. I know that class size is what it is right now, but I think if we really want to see our scores and our kids continue to gain, we need to lower class sizes. The second part is, can I have my desk back instead of tables? I hate the tables. They touch each other all day long. And I need tables or desks so I can have islands. I had to steal spots around my room. I had somebody on the floor. I need them not to touch each other. And I know you're looking at me and you're saying, okay, lady, classroom management. I got it, but they still like to touch each other. So if I could just have a few islands, a few tables, desks, and then the rest tables would be fine. All my good kids could sit at the tables. And the third thing is, please, 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 if we're going to use iReady, which I'm not opposed to it, can I write in the books? Because I know you're all going to say it. Tell them to copy the page. Have you ever sat there and waited for a 2nd grade student, no matter how high they are, to copy the page down to do it? When we were in school back in the 80s, we had the book. We did the back, the odd, even, whatever. We wrote it down. It's not like that now. It's very complicated. I put it up on the board, yes, sometimes, and we do it together. But sometimes they just need to be able to do it in the paper. And also, I can't give them the books because they will write in them, no matter what I say. So please let me write in the books next year. That would really, really help. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was a question in there. No. Honestly, no. I mean this. I mean this, and I feel your passion, and I appreciate it. We all do. A break is coming tomorrow, and you said, and you stated just what repeated just what I stated earlier. Retool, recharge. If there's some things obviously that you need as it relates to the structure of your classroom, then certainly see your principal. And if that doesn't happen, there's an assistant superintendent. We'll make that happen. We want to make sure that physically your classroom is structured in a way where you're able to do everything that you just spoke of doing, and we really, really appreciate it. But a break is coming. I appreciate and love your passion. And certainly for those students that are, as you stated, the high flyers, we want you to continue to do that, but we want you to grab some of those we want to raise the floor and raise the ceiling, if that makes sense. So we appreciate you.
As long as they can't touch each other, I think.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Next question.
Good afternoon, Ms. Tidwell, or the Kim Primary family. Y'all showed up this afternoon.
I should have just came along.
Special education. Hi, Dr. Davis, and probably directed toward you, probably Dr. Lee also. I am pre-K special needs. Now, the purpose is to hopefully get our kids into inclusion as much as we can. Have a situation happening this year. We now have EIP self-contained classes. Now, some of my students are not quite ready to go into full gen ed, and some of the students in the AU academic class is in that same situation also. We, as a team, felt that to do inclusion, they would be best served in the EIP self-contained classroom versus a regular general ed classroom based on the academics. So we have put a couple of our students in the classroom for inclusion purposes with a para, but we were told that no, DS kids cannot go into those EIP self-contained classes. And I was like, why? Well, the purpose of inclusion is to put a kid in a regular general ed classroom. But I'm thinking, is EIP still under general education umbrella? At this point, I have pre-K students that I, based on the team, feel that they would best fit in the EIP self-contained as far as inclusion purposes. Our students are not supposed to be in the back room with a pair in the back of the classroom looking at gen ed students' work. These classes would be best served for them to be engaged in the academics portion of the inclusion part of that. So my question is, why can't our students go into the EIP self-contained? Now, there are students who can go to regular general ed classroom for inclusion. But we have a set of students that we feel best fit in our EIP self-contained for the hour and a half day for inclusion.
I totally understand where you're coming from, but we have to follow what the state guidelines are for EIP. So for us to get EIP funding, we must follow those rules. And those rules are that if a student's IEP stipulates that the child is being served in reading or math per the IEP, then EIP cannot serve that children. And that's considered double dipping. So there is specified state funds that come to a child if they have an IEP or if they're served and they meet the criteria of EIP, but they can't be together. And so that is why with EIP, we stipulate that you cannot have
children who are served by the DES program in an EIP class if their IEP does that. So we do have circumstances where a child may have an IEP served in math, but can be served by EIP reading, and we do that. But we are held by the guidelines by the state. And so, yes, this year we've moved to having more self-contained EIP and reduced class size classrooms. And it might be looking at the reduced class model, because that's a general ed class,
Yes.
and only has maybe 3 to 4 EIP students in that class. They're supposed to have a smaller class size, and that may be a better setting as opposed to, because you could still have that child in that class and just have the dot 8 class or the dot 9 course, opposed to the 4 children who are EIP in that room, who have the dot 1. But the self-contained EIP, you're not able to do that. And I'm sorry, that's guidelines by the state.
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Sharonda Abram Collins. I am also at Kemp Primary, and my question is in regards to DES. Dr. Smith, as you walked in today, you kind of coined the reason that I'm here today. You mentioned prioritizing our most needy students. I feel that those most needy students are our DES students, primarily because I'm a resource teacher. I come to these meetings to voice my opinion about the children that we do have within the inclusion classroom. I feel like there is not enough examination on how well those students are performing in the classroom. Not to say that our resource teachers are not doing due diligence to teach those students, but because our attention is split many ways when we are in meetings, managing paperwork, and doing FTE, counts, codes, a lot of things that take us away from our primary design, which is teaching. And I think that our children do not get as much of us that they deserve. I would also like to say, to defend my gen ed teachers, they were not appropriately prepared for the types of children that came into their classrooms when this inclusion model just well, it's always been there, but it took flight, in my opinion, because more children left the self-contained units in classrooms and went into the gen ed setting. So your DVDs, your OHIs, they're all sitting there in the classroom, and we have, as resource teachers, we serve to support them on how to teach and to work with those children. That also takes my attention away from doing my primary job, which is to teach children, because I'm also a team player and I'm supporting my peers. I would like us to take a look at how children who we know, without a doubt, is NUNEX. This is definitely an area I would like you to address with the DES team. We are considered highly qualified and certified to do the job that we do, all of us sitting here. When I go to my compliance specialist, or I speak even to my chair and say, I have a caseload of maybe 15 to 20. I've got that one kid that resource does not work for them at all. The low incidence team takes in my opinion, a very long time to get these children out of the resource classroom. I'm all for inclusion. I think it works for some students. It does not work for all children. I have a child who has issues with retaining information, short-term memory, a host of other things with the brain. And if I go to my team and I say, I need you all to get this kid in the MID classroom, or let's look for an IRR classroom that would best support this student, that goes without being done for an entire school year, which upsets me because I feel like we have not looked at prioritizing our most needy students, because they sat in a classroom all year blinking and breathing, that's how I describe it, listening to crickets and birds, because I can't get to them for 20 hours, which is suggested by our team to serve them due to all of the interruptions that a resource teacher has to go through. So I would really like us to focus on, or not so much as focus, consider what other counties do where this job is not one, it counties. In some counties, it is too. Last time I spoke, Dr. Beasley asked me to take a look at other job descriptions in other counties, which I did, just to educate myself. And they are split. Sometimes the resource teacher is not also the case manager. They are two, not one, which is really beneficial to have that person in the building, because you have someone as awesome as my grade level chair, who is responsible for handling the paperwork, scheduling the meetings, working with the psychologist, doing the testing, the battery of things that take me away from teaching. Teaching is my passion, teaching is my gift, teaching is my art. And I would like to teach so that our numbers, our DES children, especially those in the resource classrooms, can show the increase in their performance, just like general ed children, because there are lots of them there with the potential. But my heart aches because I'm not with them as much as I would like. And I'm sure I'm voicing a concern that other resource teachers in the county, not excusing those who don't do their job, but I do. My principal will attest to that. I'm not those, but I would like to be a teacher.
Thank you. And if you can forward those considerations to Dr. Nunez, she may want to respond to that as well, but certainly if you don't mind forwarding those to her.
Good afternoon. We do appreciate every single word, and as Dr. Simpson said before with the previous teacher, we hear and feel your passion, and that's what we need. We need passionate teachers that care about the students. We are diligently working, and we know, we are very much aware that DES needs help. More people, more help, and we are diligently working with our think tank, with our HR department, to fill positions that are vacant, and that help is on the way. We hear you, everything you said is being, I've noted, okay? And we appreciate it. And I know what you're doing out there. I know what you're doing out there. Thank you so much.
First of all, I want to apologize for people having trouble, because at Forest Park Middle School, we're outstanding. Administration is great. We're collaborating. Everybody's uplifting. The kids come in. They're outstanding kids. I mean, it's a joy to teach where I'm at. Do we have issues? Minor. But you know what? We got the best staff here. We get support. We're talking now. I'm having an outstanding year this year, and it's going to do nothing to get better. But there is one issue I need to talk about.
I didn't pay him to do this. I didn't ask.
I did morning duty recently, and I was there watching the kids. And my concern is kids, some of them are getting the meal and not eating. Some of them are not getting the meal at all and not eating. And as we all know, you've been in bed for 10 hours, you need to eat something. And I asked them, have they ate anything before they shut up? And they haven't. We take attendance. If somebody skipped it, we get upset about it, we report it. We should be just as intense with children not eating. In fact, there's a lot of kids not eating. They're getting the meals, but they're not eating. And in order for a child to learn, they need to be, focused and not hungry. And then you see children eating Takis and stuff they shouldn't be eating. Right. So all that and right now they're so young they can get away with that, but it's going to catch up with them later on. And my suggestion is that we need to be more just as focused in on children not eating, and doing a campaign to let parents know your child not eating or your child needs to eat. So that's pretty much all I say.
So I'm a firm believer that Maslow's before Bloom's. We've got to meet the basic needs. I don't know if we can validate whether those children are not eating at home. I want to assume that they didn't eat because they have already eaten. I want to assume that, but I don't know that, and certainly you don't either. I appreciate that being a concern of yours. to sit there and watch or observe those children that have not eaten. Federally, we are required to provide a nutritious breakfast for the children. If they don't eat it, it's not much we can do about that. Now, obviously, if their child is in that class and they make some comments to the teacher that they're hungry, yes, that's a concern. Obviously, if they, again, we can validate the fact that they didn't have any breakfast at home, they chose not to eat breakfast at school. There are a number of ideas, suggestions, programs that we can create and come up with in our school or schools or staff members to make certain that those students, while they're on duty, and just as you're on duty and just kind of supervising the students, making sure that they don't eat it. If you observe one or two that's not eating, they have the food, because I've seen that. The number of times that I've had to do cafeteria duty, I've seen children go through the lunchroom or go through the lunch line and get a tray and don't touch it. So yes, that's a conversation and a question that you can ask. We would have to come up with some type of a strategy to identify specifically those students that know that are not eating for a reason, if they're just not eating home and at school. But your observation certainly is warranted. And our children, I had my now baby days. I had my honeycomb days. I was being a child, and health and nutrition wasn't at the forefront to me then. I didn't get serious about it until 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Yes, it's important that we teach it and we do it in our schools. We want and hope that that's being reinforced at home. If it's not, then we do hold that responsibility, and every teacher has that responsibility. If they're living a healthy life and maintaining good health and nutrition, then they would have that display and take advantage of that teachable moment. So,
but you agree that's part of the whole child?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, sir. But thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Next question.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Miss Planter. I'm a high school science teacher, and this question is geared towards Dr. Lee. I was looking at the course sequence for rising sixth grade students for science, and I'm looking at the track, and I just kind of had some questions. I didn't know if you would be able to answer them. Okay. Thank you. I noticed that for sixth grade, there'll be an earth science start now. Seventh grade will be life science with partial physical science. And then eighth grade, high school physical science. Is that for only magnet students, or is that for all students in Clayton County?
So we're going to do a gradual release. So for sixth graders next year, they will still take earth science. That cohort of students, when they become seventh graders, they will get life science with a portion of eighth grade physical science, and it's going to be integrated into that curriculum. And then when they become eighth graders, they will take the high school physical science, because by that year, they will also be in the advanced algebra pathway. So it's going to be a gradual release. We didn't want to overwhelm the sixth graders with doing an accelerated math as well as accelerated science. So those sixth graders will not get the accelerated science pathway until they become seventh graders.
So the life science, I noticed is with partial. How is that going to work with the physical science as a seventh grader?
So in seventh graders, the focus will be life science, but there's a lot of physical science in life science. So we will identify those standards that we feel will best prepare them for the high school physical science and incorporate that into the curriculum. So next year, we will work on the actual curriculum that the seventh grade students will be exposed to when they become seventh graders, to have a more integrated approach between life science and physical science.
Okay, will it be like a year program for life science, and then how many credit hours will you get for physical?
So it will still be, they're meeting their seventh grade life science requirement for middle school. And then when they become eighth graders, they will meet their physical science requirement, but they'll be taking the high school version so that they can at least get high school credit as well.
Okay, and then it says the AP track. And if they're not on the AP track, how will you be able to tell if they're on AP track?
So they are required to take one AP, but the AP options are social studies or science.
That's for all students?
That's for all ninth graders. So if they choose to go with the AP Social Studies, then they don't have to take an AP Science. They can just take the traditional biology or environmental science for their science. If they decide to go the AP track for science, then their focus would be either AP Environmental or AP Computer Science Principles, which both can count as their fourth science, because remember they're required to have 4 sciences for graduation.
So what will be the requirements for the AP track?
There is no requirements.
So just anybody can take that AP track?
Anybody
regardless
can take it.
of whatever?
Because we will provide support as needed to those students. So yes, any student, all students have access.
Okay. And then it's the same for the environmental science, computer science. So that's 9th grade. And then 10th grade would be AP biology or chemistry or physics, or could they do all 3?
Well, they don't need all 3.
Yeah.
But the great thing about
in other
science,
words, for the 4 sciences, they could actually do 4 AP science.
they could, absolutely. And the great thing about science, we don't have a particular grade level saying you have to take this at this grade level.
Yeah.
We do have prerequisite recommendations, such as for AP Physics, the recommendation is more about the math and not even about the science. So those things would need to be in consideration, and counselors would counsel the students before they make those choices.
Okay. Now, as a parent, I'm coming from a parent standpoint, because I have a daughter who loves APs and wants to take as many AP classes as she can. But one of the things that was brought up to her was that there weren't enough teachers. So my concern as a teacher now is how are you going to accommodate all these students that love AP classes but can't take them because they don't have the teachers?
Okay, so the great thing about science, we do have broad field certification. So any science teacher that has broad field certification can teach any AP. We will be working with the Department of AP, with Christy Heath, to ensure that teachers attend the AP Institute so that they have the content knowledge for AP Environmental of how to teach that course regarding pacing and things of that nature. But as long as they are broad field certified, they really can teach any AP science.
One thing that we will work on is making sure any teacher who teaches advanced placement, we make sure that they get to go to, over the summer, the Advanced Placement Summer Institute. Part of our I policy is that they need to do that every 5 years anyway. We also encourage any high schools, we get 1 day free training with the state of Georgia in October and November. We'll send any new AP teachers to that training also. We pay for their subs for that. It's also a part of the National Math Science Initiative. This is a huge multi-million-dollar grant that's come into our high schools. Any of our math, science, and ELA AP courses not only get required training during the summer, they get a mentor during, the teacher gets a mentor during each month. We have Saturday academies, not only for the teachers, but the students too. And we even have a program that is grading free response questions for those AP classes. So we've got a lot of support coming in for advanced placement right now. And in fact, we're really starting to see that galvanize. We're seeing a lot of our students becoming more involved in it, our teachers being more involved. We also offer summer enrichment activities so that students can come in also, and teachers too. So we are taking consideration that yes, if you're teaching an AP course, how do we support you? We're going to do that through as much professional development as we can offer.
How do you get that information?
We are actually working on a couple of things. One, we have a new hub. Any of you that are my EIP or gifted know that most of my EIP and gifted are on a one-pager called the EIP Crossroads or the Gifted Brain Trust. We are making something called the CCPS High Performance Platform. And it will have, is a hub for parents and students and teachers, which goes into all of our advanced learning programs that we have, from International Baccalaureate to Cambridge Assessment. It's going to give you things that to think about for advisement. We're talking about any of those things. And if something's missing on it, just let me know. I'll get it on you. So I will, if I can get the names of people who are here, I'll send you the email, and it's just a simple, before you leave, I'll write it for you. And it's just a Christy Heath. Yes, you'll email me, Christy Heath, and you want the link to KR. Just go to the CCP, go to our website, go to Give Departments, and You can go to Gifted or EIP, and my name will come up. I'm the only Heath, like the Heath Candy Bar. I think I'm one of 2 Heaths in Clayton County. So it's me and Robin Heath. So I'm Chrissy, okay? Send me an email. I'll send you the link. Give me feedback on it. I love it. This is new. We just developed this, so I love feedback on it. Okay?
Will there be a section for parents as well?
It's actually, I put it together with the perspective that parents and students could use it. That they'll go in and there's information about what is advanced placement, what is international baccalaureate, what's some AP practice exams that I can do, where is AP Central, what questions should I ask my student if I'm in the 4th grade and going into advisement. I'm working on that. I even have videos of different students throughout the Clayton County who have made videos of this. I promise I've been working on this. So please send me an email. I'll send it because I love feedback on it. Okay? Yes. That's what we're working on.
Hi again, everybody. So I just want to say I love working in Clayton County. I don't know about y'all, but I love working for Clayton County schools. I do. And I do a lot of traveling. I told you all with FCCLA and just as content lead, other counties asked me to come in. We're in a great place. I'm serious. And if y'all don't believe that, it's kind of sad. I'm hearing your frustrations, but I promise you, everyone on this platform, if you email them, they will come to your rescue. I promise you. So don't let us stay in the building. I email Dr. Beasley, and I'd be like, Dr. Beasley, whatever. Or I email Mr. Walker, I need to see you. He's like, come on to the office. You know what I'm saying? Like, I promise you, if you email them, they will come to your rescue. I promise you. I promise you guys. Don't feel like you don't have help and support. Because when I travel and I talk to APS teachers, when I talk to Henry County teachers, Fulton County teachers, I'm telling you, not saying Decatur because they're like amazing, but anyway, other counties, I'm telling you, it's because they get like their own P card. I'm just not talk about that. But anyway, all right. So what I was going to ask, I teach at the best school in the county. So sorry for Sparkmeadow, but I teach at Perry Career Academy, which people call Open Campus, Perry Learning Center. No, we're not just an alternative school. We're just an amazing school. We're 100% virtual academy. If y'all didn't know that. But anyway, I teach early childhood education. So I'm in the elementary schools. I'm also in the middle schools, and I'm in the high schools. So one of my duties, my students intern at the elementary schools. So we work at Kent Primary, we work at Northcutt, we work at, I think we have students at, who else was here from elementary? I have somebody at Church Street. We have different people, we have interns, we have some supervising teachers in here. So my students, I teach early childhood education. They get 9 college credits once they pass their pathway assessment. They get a national credential. So one of my interns sent me a text. I told her I was coming. She said, please talk to them about the behaviors in the classroom. So what happened is, I've lost maybe 4 interns because of behavior in the elementary schools, in the classrooms, and the frustration that the teachers may have. And what happened is, I contacted Dr. E. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Yes. And she sent out to those classes behavior specialists that came up with classroom management strategies. It was amazing. And some of those stresses that the students had, it was great. You know what I mean? So again, you have to reach out, guys. You have to email. But they, one thing they said to remind you about is the behavioral specialist, and my phone is acting crazy, and behavioral specialist and their recess, holding recess as a punishment. So I don't know if that is our policy. One of my students had that as her FCCLA project, making it a mandate that you cannot take away recess, because if you take that away, it becomes a behavior problem in the classroom. So they need to go outside. And some teachers are using that. So that's my plea to elementary school teachers. Please let them go play. Use a natural consequence, not recess. Because they need to go outside and burn that energy off. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for speaking on that. I agree with you, but this is kind of lends to my point when I was saying earlier how many hats a resource teacher wears in the building. So when you have those children with those behavioral problems, if they have IEPs, I'm usually that person that they call. Some of our schools have resource officers, and as I learned at our last meeting, I understand that's supposed to be their job to come and help with those children. But the truth of the matter is, more and more of them are coming into our schools than I think that are aware. Those who are just far removed from the classroom are aware. Those children come with a lot of issues. We have, at our school, we have such a growing number of foster children and children with dynamics, some family dynamics that would just probably blow your mind. I mean, of course, I can't go divulge all of that, but some of those big reasons why: hunger, homelessness, parents, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, those things are existing at the primary level. So again, when we start talking about those children that need the support the most, it is my belief that that's the foundational years. So your primary, your elementary schools are the schools where the attention needs to be given. DBS is such an amazing department, and I agree with you. I love working in Clayton County. I just want to be a teacher, though. And so I don't get that choice because of the way the job description is designed. I'm not complaining because this is my 12th year. I just think that there's always room for better. And when you start talking about behavioral support, we don't have enough of those either. They're there and they're spread so thin. They exist, but because they're assigned to 4, 5, 6 schools, they do not get back to us as often as they should. I also find that there's a disconnect in the number that are assigned to elementary in comparison to middle and high, because the behavior problems there are registered as higher need than they are in primary. And I say to that, maybe if they were a little bit more present in elementary, perhaps they wouldn't be such a large population. By the time they hit your middle and your high school, when you have your ISS classrooms and you have multiple security and you have your EBD persons over there supporting them. We have them too. I've got chairs thrown at me, I've been beat, I've been knocked down, I have been bitten. They are there in the school, but again, that's something else that takes me away from teaching. So I just wanted to piggyback off of what you said. I love the scouting. I'm very dedicated to my children. And I will continue, as long as we continue to have forums like this where we all are in agreements that betterment is where we're going. I just wanted to say one more time, before we leave, before we close out this mess, I forgot to mention mentors. Somebody triggered that by saying the word mentor. DES could use mentors. When I came into the Department of Exceptional Students, I had that amazing Wilda Pickens and, Pew. I had Pew and Wilda Pickens who brought me in, and they came to see me, and they came to support me, and I think we had not Dr. State, but there was another one, Dr. Stafford. At the beginning of the year, and when I started this, and they came to help me understand IEPs. They came to help me with meetings. They held my hand. New resource teachers or new special ed teachers that are coming in do not have that kind of support because of how thin we're spread out. So mentors for our resource teachers and our DES teachers, I mean, if you create it, I'll sign up. But there needs to be some support for them because it is not easy to lead a meeting. And it's a little intimidating when a parent comes at you and tells you what you're going to do, when we know full well, no, we're not. So those are some things that I would like us to look into. If you haven't already, continue to have those conversations. And last but not least, grading system for our children. I would like us to have some type of conversation or a forum where our children are graded separately, a little different than gen ed children, because the confusion for parents is, I have a student that I know cannot read, and he's sitting in the 2nd grade classroom on a kindergarten level, or perhaps even, but he has these. These teachers are giving the children grades that look like gen ed grades when we know that they're not. So perhaps if we had our own grading system or some type of something that separated them from being expected to do everything exactly the way gen ed students, it would help at those meetings when we're having those conversations with parents that these are effort grades, or these are grades that are based solely around IEP goals and objectives. These are grades that are given with accommodations and modifications. Something that separates us from a B looking just like a B for a gen ed student, because we know that that's not really accurate and true. So those were some other things I would like you to bullet next time you pull us in. And we haven't been pulled in a long time. If you do that, please make sure I'm on the hotline.
We have time for one more question, and I'm going to end with this lady who hasn't had an opportunity to speak today.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be really quick. I'm Ms. Horton Long. I'm from Church Street Elementary. And just to piggyback on a couple of things, some people have said, Ms. Collins, I do agree with what she said about DES needing mentors. As a former DES teacher, when I came into DES, I needed somebody to help me. Even though she wasn't at my school, she helped me along the way to understand the process. After doing DES for a time, I became burnt out from paperwork, from all of the pulling and pulling, and I had 3 kids of my own. So I said, okay, let me just change it up for a little bit. I've transferred over to EIP now, and as an EIP teacher, because I've gone all over the process of the TEKers, my principal put me over SST at my school because I'm certified in it. And I think a lot of the disconnect, as I shared at the last meeting, was the process is very gray until it becomes an extreme case, and then we need to call a specialist. The teachers are burnt out because the kids are cutting up in their room, the kids are low academically. So I do think that Clayton County really does need to look into getting some kind of RTI SST support. As an EIP teacher, I was able to give my teachers more support at the beginning of the year, but as the school year started, diagnostic and dibbles, I have my own group, and I can't be pulled into SST meetings so that I can hold the teacher's hand on what intervention to do, and then they end up doing things like taking recess because the teacher is tired and they need help, and the principal can only do so much. So we really need to look at having some kind of SST person, RTI person within our district for our schools to help. I know we have instructional site facilitators, but teachers need that as well. Because my teachers always pull on me, but I can only do so much. And then it's really not my job. I'm doing it to support them, but they kind of have to have their own meetings, and then it falls on the teachers so much that they don't end up having the meetings. And then at the end, the principal is looking, well, this child was never flagged, he's in 3rd grade, he can't read what was done, and by the time they get to 5th grade, and I'm telling the teacher to have a meeting, they're looking at me saying, nothing was done with him in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and so they're frustrated. I can only imagine how it is on the high school, the middle school, and high school levels when you have kids that can't read or they're having a hard time. So I just wanted to voice that. I think that should really be something that's in the discussion for our county because there is a great need for it.
So let me, and I'll certainly after my comments, yield the floor to Dr. Beasley who came in to join us. I think, I'm certain we heard everything that was said. Questions, concerns, and coach, I don't internalize it as frustration. It's just concerns. We all have concerns. I've oftentimes wondered, based upon just the structure, when children enter school in kindergarten and 1st grade, why don't we have all of our resources on the front end, hypothetically? So high schools, middle schools have 4 counselors or 3 counselors. Elementaries have 1. And I've oftentimes wondered what it would look like if we had 3 or 4 counselors at the elementary and additional resources. And we can provide those services then and close those gaps as it relates to social, emotional, and academic. Then we may not need 3 or 4 counselors at the high school level. That's hypothetical. That's just what I've always wondered. But let me say this. Luckily for us is that we have a superintendent that is open and welcome to any and all ideas outside of what any of us can possibly imagine. I heard the question about AP and what were the requirements. If I had Dr. Beasley as my superintendent, I would have taken an AP class because when I was in high school, I wouldn't have met the criteria for what we know it has looked like traditionally. But because we have a superintendent of the like we do, we're open to all of those types of ideas, and we're looking at the Wild Simpsons. just so that they can provide, or we can provide opportunities for those, all children. So all of those concerns, please know that when we meet to discuss and fuss, and sometimes cuss, the goal is to make sure that we provide the very best of resources to you. We're not so far removed where we don't get it. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm not. Check my record. If we had the money, you would be behind this paid teachers in the state of Georgia and the South. If we had it, absolutely. Do you deserve it? Absolutely. We're not, this is not personal. We're not trying to hold it all for ourselves. We know that the success of this district starts and ends with you. It starts with you. We want to pour into you. We're talking about advanced learning, but we're not just throwing it out there. We're providing the support along with it. That's because of the type of leader that we have. So, it's not frustration. That's not what I feel. You have legitimate concerns, and we hear them. And so when we go back to the meeting room, this is what we will be discussing, so that we can address those concerns. Just know that. Know that your time, your efforts, your passion, we feel that. And we want to make sure that as those that have spoken so eloquently about how pleased and satisfied they are as employees in Clayton County, we want everyone to feel that. But the reality is everyone won't feel that way. But that's our goal. That's what the commitment to high performance is all about. So we get it. We get it. We are breaking and we have broken down the walls of what tradition looks like. And you will see that every single semester, every single year. I can guarantee you that. So for those that are outside of Clayton, which we could care less about what anyone else is doing, because we know they're not doing what we're doing. I appreciate your responses. I appreciate your concern. I appreciate your passion. And all of what you do for the children. Because we won't get there without you. But just know that we have your best interest. We have all of us, every single one of us, we have your best interest. And we'll work to fulfill that every single day. I can promise you that. I can guarantee you that. We will be the district that everyone wants to be a part of. And we know it. And have all the confidence in the world. So at this time, if Dr. Beasley would like to make any remarks or comments. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Simpson. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I do apologize for being late, but it sounds like you all had a lot of good questions and hopefully got some great responses. As I was sitting here from the time that I did arrive, and I was listening to the questions, I heard, I try to conceptualize things. I heard again the special ed concern. I heard about the behavior specialists, more of them maybe more strategically placed. I heard about the student-teacher ratio in particular. You were second grade, right? I heard those things, and so I thought what you all should know, and we hear those things, and so we're constantly looking at our allocation, how we staff schools. But this is what you have to understand. Right now, 92% of our budget is in staffing. The state uses a funding formula from the 1980s. And so we earn teachers, we earn social workers, we earn certain positions based upon enrollment. So our work has been to work with principals and schools to build those master schedules, right? So we can maximize our earnings. So last year we increased revenue by about $4 million that we will see hopefully this year. This year, through the FTE process, I believe we increased about another 4, maybe 5 million. Was it close to $3 million? And so what we're trying to do is increase the revenue and then keep expenditures, operational expenditures at bay. You say, why is that important? because as we continue to go up with revenue and we keep expenditures at bay, the state, even if they don't change their formula, then maybe with local funds, we can supplement, if you will, provide additional positions. And so I often tell people, I tell the team, do you want more? Do we need more stuff or do we need more people? We need more people, don't you all agree? I think we got enough stuff, whether it be iReady, and we just got a lot of stuff. I can probably go to several schools and find some stuff that they ordered that hadn't been used. So we're not trying to buy more stuff. That's why I don't really like talking to vendors about stuff anymore. Because we got enough stuff. Let's use effectively the stuff that we do have. But what I have found, what this team is committed to, we need people. For whatever reason, whether it be in Clayton or around the nation, we're seeing an increase in social emotional issues, behavior issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we know you're doing your job, but we're as educators and you uniquely as classroom teachers are responding to, first responders, I say, to what's happening in our society, in our households. And so we want, and I want to see more teachers. I want to lower that ratio, but I want it to be a significant lowering. Right now, if you've got 26, wouldn't it be great? And I know the state funding formula, at least it's not here, but I want to say in order to earn funding for you, I have to have, 22 or 23 or something like that. 22 or 23 kids in the class. So in order for me to bring in an additional person, whether it be a para or something, the state doesn't provide that. That means there has to be local funds for it. And so the only way we can provide an opportunity for local funds is we got to build up a reserve. Does that make sense, everybody? And so we're in the process as a district of rebuilding our reserve. So we can make those critical decisions. Pay raises. Don't know what's going to happen with the legislature this year. Unfortunately, your contracts will come to you before the state budget is approved. So I can't commit a pay increase before your contracts come because I don't have the information to make that commitment. I have to make a decision based upon the information that I have. And unfortunately, the budget process, the legislative process, the new governor working with the legislatures, he won't get his budget prepared and passed until later, well after you've submitted return your contracts. So you got to make your contract decisions without that in mind. Because I can't make a promise because I don't have enough information to make a promise. I can't commit because I may not be able to do that. That would not be wise and would be disrespectful of you and your time and your effort. So, we all, and I've been there, you all have to know. I'm in 25 years in education. I've had to return that contract myself every year. And I often wondered, should I return that contract? But I often say return your contract. Because you can always, you still have so much time after you return your contract. But you don't return your contract because of the pay. You have to fundamentally decide if you want to be here in Clayton County. Because I can assure you, you can go to Washington, D.C., and I grant you, as a teacher, you'll make a whole lot more money than you will in the metro Atlanta area. But the question is, do you want to be in Washington, D.C.? You can go many places and make more money. So you have to fundamentally decide, where do you want to be? And so I say that all of us have to decide. We're going to do what we can. We're looking at a paid compensation study. We're looking at the lowest paid employees first. Bus drivers, parents, all of those persons who are basically not certified. We're looking at them first. And then we're going to move to teachers and all the certified positions. But I would just say to you all, it takes a little patience. I wish I could say we had a fund balance at $90 million a day, and I could just say, we're going to do it. It's just not the reality. And so I've learned over the years that you can't stress about what you didn't control. You just work to improve what's in your power to improve. And that's exactly what we're working to do. It's improving. We're going to see it be strengthened from year to year, and you just have to believe and know that you have an administration, you have a superintendent. I'm going to get you the highest check I can get you. Because I've been there. I don't say this, but my wife was a homemaker and I was a teacher 4 children on the teacher's salary. And that tells you something. That's why I'm used to eating franks and beans. My point is, I know where you are, I've been where you are. And so we are committed to addressing those issues, getting you the support you need in special ed. But we also know in order to do it, we got to have people. In order to have people, I got to have money to pay the people. And it's just a process. It's a process. So again, we're working on increasing the revenues, trying to keep expenditures at bay so we can give ourselves some flexibility on how we use those funds. And that's our work as a school system. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being engaged. Thank you for the questions, for providing us feedback and an opportunity as we go back to the table. And I want you to know, as Dr. Simpson shared, we do go back to the table. We listen and we talk about what you ask. And we try to figure out, okay, what can we do? If we can't do everything today, what can we do? Because it's important that you know that we're listening to you all. It's important that you know that. Again, thank you. I hope all of you have a wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you back in January when you come back rested, energized, and ready for second semester, okay? I'll be here a few minutes if you just say something.